glory. We the Ambazonians pledge our loyalty. Praise to our Savior who granted us our freedom. Allegiance to the hero for God alone we gather. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation flowing with and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, usually repent in our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, usually repent in our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
Fellow Ambazonians, Happy New Year 2025 to all of you in Ground Zero, in the diaspora, internally displaced, and those who have been falsely incarcerated in the dungeons of La Republique, to our leader, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, who has been politically detained by Norway under the influence of the United States through the Joe Biden administration that is outgoing. I also wish to salute the bravery of the Ambazonian people, especially on a day like today. Monday ghost towns were declared at the onset of this last phase of resistance against Cameroon, and you have kept to your promise to tell the occupier that through civil actions, non-violent actions, you will tell them who owns the land, and the occupier is also obeying the laws of the land. Ghost Town will continue every Monday until freedom comes, and other days and other weeks when we deem that necessary. In the past 8 years, and we're entering into the 9th year since BIYA declared war on you, your resistance, your sacrifices, especially the defense forces, the Ambazonian Governing Council, other movement forces, have beaten the enemy that thought they were going to exterminate us from the face of the earth in 2 weeks. We have beaten them on the battlefield, method for method, iron for iron. I thank you all for the bravery that you have shown throughout 2024. In 2024, with our sister forces on the ground, we have achieved what we set for ourselves and even beyond. We have also put Cameroon on the defensive. In aggregate, Cameroon has carried out less than 50% of the offensive postures within Ground Zero. It stands to the stamina, to the experience of those fighting for Cameroon to leave their land. It stands to the bravery of the forces fighting against illegal occupation. It is thanks to all those who have supported the forces, whether they are the Ambazonian Governing Council, the ADF, and other fighters on the ground, or there are those who aid us in the background to make sure that the forces achieve their strategic superiority over Cameroon in the land that we so master and have used it to our advantage. And that has cost Cameroon not only lives of its soldiers, but it has reduced its economy to shatters. Despite their senile president, Paul Biya, blaming the calamity of their economy on international difficulties. It is the economic sabotage, the ungovernability of the breadbasket of Cameroon, Ambazonia, that has reduced Cameroon to economic shambles. Fellow Ambazonians, you have been targeted over the years for who you are, and not because you don't want to live free. Boys and girls, women and children, fathers have been maimed, burnt in their houses. Your leaders have been taken to task. Some have been killed, some have been jailed. Even those in jail have stood their ground. They have refused to accept an identity which does not belong to them. And for that, our prisoners, I say thank you for standing up to the bully Cameroon. For 65 years, Cameroon thought we were never going to be able to challenge its illegal occupation. Little did they know that you would rise with bare hands, with green plant leaves, in order to challenge its authority in your God-given land. Little did they know that you would beat their mighty army trained by the United States, Israel, France, and all the other countries. Little did they know that through civil disobedience, through tactical maneuvers, you would beat the invited Chadian army in Ambazonia. And you have shown it. I am delighted to tell you that going into 2025, we have 4 main strategic options that will enable us to begin the descent to the finish line. In the past 8 years of this revolution, we have been climbing, we have been facing challenges. I can assure you, based on evidence, based on our analysis of the evidence, that we have reached the peak. There is nothing else that Cameroon can do again that Cameroon has not done. Cameroon has slit the throats of Ambazonian civilians. Cameroon has burned children. Cameroon has killed children. Cameroon has killed civilians for simply going to their farms. Cameroon has taunted us, called us rats. Cameroon has killed through enablers and infiltrators some of our best generals, the General Ivors, the Supreme Effort, and you name the rest. But we have remained unbowed. Cameroon has even jailed our leaders, the Siseko, the Tassa, and recently Dr. Cho Ayaba. We have remained unbowed. This is to tell Cameroon and anyone else listening that the quest for freedom to the Ambazonian people is an idea. You cannot kill that idea with guns, with fire, with maiming, with forced disappearances. Fellow countrymen and women, why I particularly thank those of you who are in the line of fire on ground zero, I would also want to thank those who have contributed both in ground zero and in the diaspora to the war effort. It has helped us to run schools, to open health centers, to help farmers, to improve on social amenities, but also to challenge Cameroon's authority that has diminished. Cameroon occupying force are unable to move freely as they did in our streets. That is victory. Cameroon appointed traitors, blacklegs among us are being accompanied into their own neighborhood by armored cars. That is how you win a war. I also want to thank our communicators, those within the Hague of Sea and outside of the Hague of Sea, for the marvelous job you have done. War is also communication. And in the coming week, we will outline our communication strategy in order to buttress the 2025 actualization of Ambazonian strategy. In the coming weeks, we will also give you a glimpse into the actualization of one of the strategies that will make you proud in the coming week. I mean it. For 2025, we have 4 big items in our strategic tool in order to allow us to begin the descent to BIYA. These strategies have been developed based on our careful study, anticipation, analysis of the changing geopolitical dynamics, of the circumstances of the enemy, and of our own circumstances. And they fall into 4 areas. There are the legal strategy, which we have started, and is going to be focused more on offensive legal actions as we have undertaken. And I can assure you that personnel from the International Criminal Court are investigating Cameroon's atrocities in Ambazonia. In the coming months, we will undertake similar lawsuits against Cameroon, the likes of Norway, and any other organization, individual, or country that aids Cameroon to commit glaring atrocities on the people of Ambazonia. We have also assigned specific international lawyers hired through your generous contributions to look after the case of Dr. Cho Ayaba and other Ambazonians that are being persecuted for standing for justice, for standing for democracy. Mind you, Ambazonia was the first democratic state in the whole of Africa. Mind you, Ambazonia was the first country in Africa to organize a peaceful transition of government and peaceful elections. And as such, those values, those norms are ingrained in every Ambazonian. And an Ambazonian cannot stand and watch injustice go by. I know most of you, especially those who are facing difficulties, are unable to speak their mind. But your contributions, your posture, your response to our calls for action have demonstrated to us that despite being in the lion's den, you are yearning for freedom. This has been translated into a massive payment of the liberation tax. And I want to congratulate the diaspora for taking on the mantle to lead the liberation tax. Despite contributing massively to TTOF, to monthly fundraisers, to other projects in the ground, the diaspora in 2024 contributed 1/5 of total liberation tax, amounting to just over $33,000. And I thank Ground Zero for contributing the 4/5 of total receipts for a liberation tax. In 2025, the Finance Department has projected that with the actualization of AMBAZONIA, liberation tax receipts both in the diaspora and in Ground Zero will increase by 30%. And next week, on the 15th exactly, we would launch the 2025 liberation tax. And we urge every Ambazonian, wherever you are, to invest in your own freedom. Ukrainians are investing in their freedom. Palestinians are investing in their freedom. Every people that have been free, they have invested, committed to their own freedom. And as such, while we thank you for your contributions in 2024, we look forward to more contributions so that we can make the final push. With regards to the legal battle, we have also established a database to record all atrocities based on a 1-year research by the Department of Human Rights and Humanitarian Services that established that from 2017 up to today, Cameroon has killed, disappeared 70,904 people as we speak as of yesterday. Cameroon has banned international organizations, human rights groups, the likes of Médecins Sans Frontières and others. They've banned international media houses from reporting or coming to the ground because they wanted to hide these figures. These figures have resulted from rigorous research and holistic contributions and evidence of mass graves, of reports of the disappeared, the dead on a daily basis. And as such, we ask every Ambazonian and everyone that has lost loved ones or will lose loved ones during this fight for freedom to go to our website and provide the details. Cameroon and its acolytes, Cameroon and its black legs, Cameroon and all the enablers and traitors will be held accountable for the 70,904 Ambazonians killed up to date. And that number might rise in the coming days, weeks, months. These details will allow us to push not only the legal battle against Cameroon forward, but also to use it for diplomacy. Because ever since the war started, Cameroon falsely reported 6,000 dead in 2017, 6,000 dead in 2018, 19, 20, and up to 2024, because it didn't want to face the facts. Fellow countrymen and women, in 2025, We are moving from targeted diplomacy to strategic diplomacy. And I'm delighted to announce to you that we have unlocked the door of international diplomacy. We are not only inside the room of international partners, international diplomacy, we are on the table. And in the coming days, you would hear the good news. In the coming weeks, in exactly 2 weeks' time, you will see the good news. Your diplomatic team in the Hague of Sea is engaging partners on both sides of the Atlantic, both in the US and in Europe. And as such, there is every reason to believe that the recognition of Ambazonia is imminent. That for once, you'll be proud to be an Ambazonian. This year would also allow us to leverage from our diplomatic wins in order to empower Ground Zero in terms of humanitarian support, education, agriculture, as well as healthcare and humanitarian services. We have secured for you partners that will provide some needed help. Countrymen and women. In terms of Ground Zero, the key point to note is, since 3 months ago, the War Council commissioned a search, and we're going to continue with that search. That search has resulted in the recruitment, and we are continuously training 1,000 commandos to insert both in the southern zone and in the savannah zones. Their task would be to thwart the upcoming regional and presidential elections in Cameroon that Cameroon wants to impose on Ambazonians or ask Ambazonians to participate in, whereas we have rejected them. They will graduate from the 3 different academies as we train the Akamansos by March 1st. In addition to their task of thwarting elections, they will insert themselves strategically in order to take out black legs. Remember, for every forced occupation, the enemy recruits members of your own community and provide them crumbs. And such members of the community connive with the occupying power in order to exact the will of the occupier. For you enablers, traitors, and blacklegs, we know all of you. Everyone will be held accountable for their crimes. Ambazonia will never have a commission of reconciliation and justice. Ambazonia will have a commission of accountability and justice. Everybody will be held accountable for their actions, whether they did that knowingly or unknowingly. And as such, pay attention, pack well, because we will look for you, we will find you, and we will bring you to justice. In 2025, with regards to Ground Zero, we are preparing for the last fight. The next big fight that will fight Cameroon will be last fight, as they say in the movie. And after consulting with the Ambazonian Defense Forces, the War Council, sister forces, I think all the self-defense forces now agree, after careful analysis, that the time for a last fight is near. However, Cameroon, just like all French countries and French colonies and the French themselves, faced with defeat, just like France was asked to leave Mali. They used caterpillars to crush their pickup crops and everything they brought. I want to forewarn our civilians. Cameroon is not going to leave Ambazonia without exacting vengeance, because this is a war of attrition against a people that Cameroon wants to deny their identity. And as such, we will be establishing educational academies that would have dual purposes. Use grapevine methods to train our civilians on security measures, but use our military academies on the ground, as they are currently training the 1,000 commandos, in order to further train our reserves that will be needed for the last fight. We will continue with economic sabotage. We will continue with the lockdowns. And the next lockdown will be next month, during the rejected 11th February. It has been the norm, and it's going to be the norm this year. It's also going to be the norm on 20th May. It's going to be the norm when school resume in September, because the Ambazonian curriculum of education, structure, and programming is different from that of Cameroon. We will notify you in good time when country Sundays, other than Mondays, are due to come into effect. I appreciate your efforts and what you've done thus far in order to maintain the resistance. While we wait for the last fight, we are amazing material. We'll use the liberation tax to fund every Ambazonian fighter. Mind you, the liberation tax is Ambazonian money, and as such, everyone fighting for the flag, under the flag, with the flag, will be provided with the requisite materials necessary to defend the land and the people. While that is ongoing, we will continue with offensive, strategic, and surgical operations against Cameroon. Cameroon soldiers lack the stamina. They lack the mindset. They have told their politicians, we are tired. Their commanders on the ground tell their soldiers, our responsibility is to make sure that you return to your family. We have bad news for you. Yes, you will return to your families, but in body bags. Ambazonia is your death trap. We will pack you out of Ambazonia. Despite your senile president, who is devoid of reality, telling you that reconstruction is ongoing. We have seen thousands of reconstructions. We have seen thousands of commissions created to solve what they call a problem that doesn't exist. We have won them in every battle, not only on the ground, in diplomacy, in negotiations, in communications. Yet, a few of you eating crumbs have decided to stand against your own people. No one in history who has stood against his own people has survived. If you doubt me, ask the Ekemas, ask the Frundis, the Mbandams, and the rest. They are your evidence. In terms of community mobilization, we're going to revamp our communication strategy, our collaboration, and our engagement with other movements. Under my tentative leadership, before Dr. Cho is released, which is a given, he will be released. It's just a matter of when. We will engage in collaborative efforts, as we did before the Canadian talks, with other nationalist movements within the Ambazonian sphere. We have been communicating in the last few weeks about how such collaboration and communication can take place. And we think that collaboration would begin first in diplomacy, in community mobilization, and in other aspects that are less contentious. And where there are differences, we will go our separate ways. And as such, I think 2025 has been blessed by the Ambazonian Governing Council for the leadership to take bold steps to put the past behind and engage with every movement to see how we can foster collaboration in diplomacy and in preparation for negotiations, but also in preparation for a transition period. Because the Ambazonian War of Independence will come to an end unsurprisingly for us, but many will be caught out because it will come when the least expect. As such, we are putting in place a system to take care of the unforeseen. The Ambazonian Governing Council has done meticulous planning and anticipation of the changing dynamics, and as such, different strategies have been put in place in all the 23 departments to respond to such circumstances. Fellow countrymen and women, we know Cameroon has been engaging in plans to create new processes and new projects that will project certain individuals that have been predetermined, just like France created the Ahijos, projected a false process of independence to kill the Umyobes, the true fighters. That is the same approach Cameroon is taking within the Ambazonian ranks. We are aware. We will deal with them. Collaboration in 2025 shall not involve these organizations and these individuals. However, we will make sure that the broad scope of the Ambazonian community is involved. Fellow countrymen and women, we have fought as warriors. We have shown the enemy who owns the land. We have gone thus far, and Ground Zero has told us if we leave it, they are going to continue it. We have reached a point of no return. We have reached a point of no infiltration. We have reached a point of no sabotage. Nobody, no organization, not even Cameroon, can bring us back. The train has left the station, and there are no brakes until BIYA. Cameroon has enlisted through connivance with the Biden administration. Thank God they are going out of office, to train bears in detecting IEDs. Yet, on a daily basis, just like the black vampires did yesterday, they still succumb to the technology of Ambazonia. We have also commissioned the production of the new grade of POPs on the ground. The War Council is working day in, day out to make sure the production is fast-tracked and distributed to all forces so that they can use to halt, to stop, to slow the advances of the murderous Cameroon military into our villages, our towns, and cities. Fellow countrymen and women, this is a generation that would stop Cameroon. This is a generation that would send Cameroon packing. Ambazonia has never lost a war. We won the Germans, but Cameroon thought they could come into our land, dismantle our power camp, kill our industries, make us poor so we couldn't fight them, kill the marketing boards, make sure that there were no opportunities, impose its own language, its own educational system, its own legal system to deny you the right of your identity, your values, and to determine your own future. But this generation is the one that has brought an end, not only to that thinking, but to that failed dream by Cameroon. Because they thought since 1961 up to today, 63 years, there was no hope of us coming back. That is why when we came back and challenged them, they gave us 2 weeks to eradicate us from the face of the earth. That is why they called us names, because in their bizarre thinking, they knew no people battered as we have been battered can ever rise again. But the ingenuity of the Ambazonian people, the stamina of the Ambazonian people has allowed us to prevail. That is why, despite all the recruited blacklegs and enablers, despite the actions of the traitors and how we have dealt with them, despite Cameroon military's presence in armored cars because they can't move freely, I have faith, because if between a war fought by Goliath and David, Goliath with all the might is unable to deliver a punch, David has won. Hail, hail this land of glory.
The Ambazonia, pledge our loyalty. Praise to our Savior who granted us our freedom. Allegiance to the hero who God alone we gather. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need.